Hello and welcome to another conversation about conversations. I am your co-host, Jakub Kubrak. With me, as always, is the author, the man, the myth, the legend, Ivan Farber. And joining us for another conversation is our lady legend, Jules Swisher.
Thank you, young Jacob.
Appreciate it.
Hey there, both of you. Good to see you, lady legend. Partner in crime, looking handsome, looking charming. And you always have this smile. It's just a great smile.
Thanks, buddy. I think I get it from my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi,
Shout
Mom,
out to
too.
Jacob's mom.
Yeah. Hi, Jacob's mom.
We love you.
Any other moms that are listening?
All the moms. We
Yep.
love the moms.
Yep.
Today's topic is active listening. And what I've observed, and you may have too, is that we have, as a culture, as a business community, we have a failure to communicate. And what we wind up seeing are these serial monologues where one person says something, the other person says something. They're not really talking to each other. It's like a tennis match back and forth. Whereas to be really effective, we want to perfect our ability to let the other person talk and really fully understand. So, two of you and those out there in podcast land, raise your hand if you think you could be a better listener. You know what's funny is when I was writing the book, that is a line from the book, raise your hand if you could be a better listener. And every time I either read it, edited it, I raised my hand.
It's amazing, Ivan. Jacob, keep that in mind.
It's programming.
Now, also in this episode, we're going to have Jacob audition to be the narrator of the audiobook. We're going to give you 4 strategies for how to actively listen better. And we're going to tell you how to get your own free copy of Conversations. How about a word from our sponsors, Jacob?
Absolutely. We're always grateful for our sponsors. 503 Building for all your building needs. Woodcraft, thank you very much. Imago Ansa, thank you. And most importantly, Conversations, how to manage your business relationships one conversation at a time. I'm going to get it right eventually. These ad reads are going to get better.
Are those cat ears?
Ooh, I left my cat ears in my book. Yeah. We have this cat notepad. It says from the paws of ...
That's cute.
Ivan, are you a cat man or a dog man?
I'm definitely not a dog man. I'm a cat man.
Okay. How about you, Jacob?
I'm split down the middle. My daughter loves dogs and she's the youngest, and my son likes cats. And he's a little older, but they always say if we have pets, we have to have one of each. So I'm not
having a family with a boy and a girl. You just have a family with a cat and a dog.
Yeah, sure. However you want. I mean, you can have any type of family you want, but in this family, if we get one, we have to get the other. So, But if I had to choose just one, I'd probably be a dog person.
Mm.
Ivan, what's your cat's name?
We have 3 cats. we have Stripey, who's my favorite. We have Socks, and we have Spotty.
All with S's?
Yeah, but that wasn't intentional. It was really more descriptive. Stripey had striped belly, Spotty had spots, and Socks has these white feet. Just white feet all around, like she has socks on. I want to digress for just a moment and tell you the reason why I don't like dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
So I was at a barbecue when I was like 5 years old, and I'm eating a hamburger, and the dog comes up and eats the burger right out of my buns. And since then, not really keen on dogs.
That's some early childhood trauma right there, Ivan. I thought you were going to come at me with a way more gruesome story, but I mean, that's not that bad.
Then there was the time that a goat ate a hat off my head. So my wife loves dogs and goats, but we don't have any dogs and goats yet.
That's too funny. I'm gonna one up you. When I was like 5 years old, back in Poland, I was just running to the street, and there was a neighbor's dog, little thing, and he just bit me by the leg. And so I've always been kind of timid around dogs. They could smell that, as crazy as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think we all have some kind of early child trauma with animals at some point.
Right. The dogs always come up to me like when we're walking because they know I'm the one that they need to win over. And I'm sorry, lost hamburger, they're not going to win me over. Jules, any childhood trauma animal stories?
So I do have one, but it's a little too gruesome for the podcast. So, and so we don't need to go into that, but
behind the scenes.
I'm definitely, what?
It's behind the scenes content.
Yeah, that's BTS, behind the scenes. But I'm a dog person through and through. See, I don't really like cats. So I guess we have a nice even mix on the show today. Really important stuff here.
We've got balance.
Yeah.
Flavor.
What's your dog's name, Jules?
Sunny.
Neat.
Yeah, she's cute.
Well, now we introduce our new segment called Explore 4. We're going to ask 4 questions, and we're going to go round robin and answer them. And the first question is for you to share one of the more memorable conversations, either successful or unsuccessful, that you've had recently.
Yeah, so I can start just because this is really fresh in my mind. This just happened last week. And it started unsuccessful and became successful through active listening. So what had happened was I walked into a clinic and there was a gentleman there who was so mad at me and I had no idea why. And he's yelling and he's literally pointing his finger like this. And I was like, okay, I need to listen to figure out what happened that made him so mad, because I had no idea. I was like walking in, he was coming at me. So I had to really, really listen. And what I was listening for were assumptions that he made potentially incorrectly, because what he was mad at me about, I didn't actually do. And so I had to listen and figure out where he made an assumption and then address that. And I think that that's a really great example of skillful listening, because it would be so easy to just go into defensive mode to whatever. But instead, I had to figure out, like, he didn't explicitly say that he made an assumption somewhere, but he did, and it was incorrect. And so by listening, I could figure out where that was, what happened, and then address that when I was ready after asking enough questions.
Sure, it's a great example. You want me to go now? Or do you want to? No?
It's all you, man.
Jules, I like that example, and that happens a lot in business. Sometimes people will just be upset. So it's very important. I also think it's very important at that point to not ask the wrong questions, right? Or make statements too quickly. That's where you really got to take your time. It's almost like time's got to slow down. I'm going to take it another way, though. For some of the listeners out there, potentially, maybe this doesn't apply. Maybe it'll apply down the road. But with kids, I think this is one of the places where we make, or at least I make a lot of mistakes, whether it's as a coach or as a parent. And that is one of the things that has to happen for kids to open up and tell you it's really, potentially bothering them or making them upset or whatever, is active listening. And as adults and coaches, even we get right to the point because we know and we expect them to think that they're already adults when they're just figuring this stuff out. So that's one of the most memorable things that has happened recently, is just kind of that breakthrough. My older one. And so active listening, one of the hardest things to do because there's so many ways to get it wrong. And it's so easy to do that because it feels natural. But this is a place where you definitely want to take your time and just slow down as much as possible, make as much eye contact, body language. All those things are just incredibly important when you're in the active listening mode. Like even like Ivan, what you're doing now there, just that I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
Jacob, I really like what you said about how time has to almost slow down when you're listening. That, first of all, was very deep and meaningful.
Deep.
But
Randy
it's
Moss.
You're on your Shakespeare game right now, my friend.
Sure.
Yeah.
I had a couple conversations recently, fear and greed. And the key thing about fear and greed in financial industry is listening. And so actually one of the conversations, my client wanted to sell everything. And when I say everything, like we're talking $10 million. And so I went in with a plan, and that plan included that the first half of the conversation, I was going to be listening. Then the greed, it kind of, I had to call someone on it and remind them that only a few months ago they were fearful. And so repeating to them what they had told me previously, which required listening then and remembering. And then I also find it helps to have these phrases that go right to the heart of the matter. And that's not the topic today about phrases, but the phrase was bulls and bears make money and pigs get slaughtered. And it was just the phrase that he's like, am I being piggish? I'm like, I didn't want to say it, but I said it. What I want to know
that's from also from a movie, right?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that is in Wall Street 2.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Are you saying I stole a line from a movie?
I'm not saying, no, I'm saying the movie stole a line from
me.
From you. Definitely
from you.
stole the line from Ivan, for sure.
But
Ivan, I love that you just implied that he's a pig. That's actually amazing.
Okay, so you have to build up to it. Like we're talking about 40 minutes into the conversation.
Yeah, it's probably not your first word. That's what I was talking about, is like you got to choose your words wisely.
Yes.
But yeah, sometimes you have to make a point. But yeah, Wall Street 2, I think it's was it Michael Douglas plays the banker, but I'm pretty sure that line, not only did they steal it from you, but they stole it from just in general. That's a big Wall Street line.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. What about in terms of things that you've learned from the podcast that you apply or have applied recently or really anytime?
Yeah. The one thing that I can think of right now is I was really struggling with getting into the weeds in conversations. And I actually reached out to Ivan about this and was like, Dr. Ivan, please prescribe me something. Like I need some kind of help about this because I was losing kind of control of the conversation. So while this maybe isn't directly active listening, there was a component of that, of course, because what I needed to do was figure out how to gain control of that conversation again and bring them back to what I'm here trying to do. And the last thing I want to do is go down some rabbit hole, get stuck in that, lose my traction, lose everything. So Ivan had some really great tips on that. And I implemented them.
That was really great that you asked questions. We want to encourage all of our listeners to give us questions to answer specifically, because that created a whole episode simply by you asking that question, and help me to think through what was really going to help you and really picture you going into the clinics, in your scrubs, and what you needed to do to gain control of the conversation. Can you remember one of the ideas that I gave there?
Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind that you said is basically acknowledging the question and then steering them back to what it was. So maybe I'll get to that or something along those lines, potentially a little bit more tactful than that. But something along the lines of, I will get to that, or we can answer that in a second. Let's come back to this, what we're talking about right now.
I think some of the other ideas were like asking what else. So in other words, you're getting thrown off because they're trying to take you off in another direction. But instead, I think I said, write it down. And then that like made them understand that you got it. And then even go with what else, and let them unpack everything that was kind of like throwing in their mind, because they don't want to forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob, what have you gotten out of being on the podcast, and what have you implemented like in your own practice in conversations?
Is this just active listening that we're staying with?
Open topic.
Oof. You don't have enough time on this episode for that.
All right. How about then we'll stick with it. Stick with active listening.
I try to steal as much as possible. Maybe that's not the right word, but yeah, anything that works, I'll take it. So like right now, just your body language on, shaking your head and the way your eyes are moving and the way your mouth is moving. I'm going to take that if you want the most recent. But other than that, I mean, just the way that the questions are asked. I mean, that's been my biggest takeaway from anything we've done together, and the way it's applied. Kind of the craft and the skill, because we've already got the tools, right? I mean, they're just questions, right? And as long as you stay within the topic, you can pretty much find your way around. But yeah, we need a whole new episode as to what Jacob's learned.
That would be a great episode.
Sure.
It would be. Ivan, I have a question for you. When you are active listening on the phone, so you're not in person, so you can't give those body language cues, which you are obviously the MVP of that. You got the body language down. What do you do on the phone, and what do you say on the phone besides just, okay, yeah, like what do you do to make them feel heard?
I'm going to save that for the main content part, but yes, there are 4 strategies we're going to give our listeners today in order to do that. Because yes, I would say the great majority of my conversations as a relationship manager have been on the phone, and you don't have the body language. Although there's a theory that people have, I can't prove it, that your head nodding on the phone, or like the way you're either like slumped back, or some people stand up. I don't stand up when on a conversation, but that your body language actually does, because it's going to come across in your voice as well. What do you think people hope to get out of this episode besides ideas on, and really how to active listen? What do you think, Jacob?
I think they want to hear how to properly introduce people at the beginning of a podcast, so that's what they're getting onto. Plus the music. I definitely think that a lot of people are here for the music.
Definitely. California Love all the way.
As well as all the other songs. Don't just limit it to one, Jules.
You guys got a good playlist going.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
And go ahead.
Ivan, I think one of the things that I can speak for, just in my experience when I listen to the podcast, I'm always just looking, how can I apply this to my specific business? So while we're all kind of in separate fields, different industries, I always like it when, and this is one thing that you've done well, Ivan, is keeping it like very broad so that it can be applied to whatever industry that you are in, whether it be service or sales. And so I always go into it very selfishly and saying, okay, what can I take from this and use in my business and make it grow? That's it. That's all I really care about. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. I hear you is the first strategy of active listening. The strategy is short responses. So things like, I hear you, I see what you mean, go on, tell me more, or even something like, oh, or interesting. So as you're going through a conversation and you want to get your prospect, your client to keep going, a one word can be all it takes. Or when someone's emotional and you know they're unpacking and they're upset, or someone just said something that came completely out of left field. Interesting. Like they make this outrageous comment. You're like, interesting.
Never heard that before.
You hear that all the time, I bet.
Yeah. But that's another way you could say it, right? Is, oh, I've never heard that before. Or, oh, never had that situation.
And Jacob, your short response, your one word is your lean to is sure.
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 Mhm.
Sure.
Sure. So the 1, 2, or 3 word responses, keep them going. They encourage people. And just when you start using that technique, you will find you're like, this works so well. Go on. Now, the second technique is echoing. And echoing is also used to have people really feel heard. And it feels manipulative, and it is. And a number of the techniques in my book and the strategies I preach are manipulative. But manipulative often has a negative connotation. But really, when we enter conversations, whether it's with family, friends, clients, prospects, we do want a certain outcome. Hence, we want to manipulate that outcome, that we're going in to get what we want, to get what we need. Echoing. So echoing is repeating back either all or part of what your client just said with the exact same words that they used. So for example, if someone says, Ivan, I am so angry, I might say, so angry? Or if they say something that that I either don't understand or is just remarkable, I might use their words back to them, echo right back.
Go on.
Like the echo that's going on sometimes.
Yes,
when
in
you
our
speak.
podcast,
Yeah.
you're the engineer. You should have worked on that echo.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
The third strategy is short questions, generally short open-ended probes. And when I talk about short questions, it's 3 to 7 words max. So one of my favorites is, what do you mean by that? We think that people know what they meant by when they said something, but what I find repeatedly is that you ask someone what they mean by that, and they'll spin their wheels a little bit and they'll say, I actually don't know what I meant by that. But the short questions get them to keep going. They're active listening and really help you to elicit what they need, what they want, what the circumstances are. So they're really powerful.
Sure.
And the fourth technique is restating. You're paraphrasing, so you're not echoing entirely. You're paraphrasing what you just heard. You're adding your own words and your own interpretation to it. And it's things like, so what I'm hearing you say is, my mother really likes it when she gives me some passionate advice for me to restate what it is she said. She feels actually heard when I say, well, here's what I heard, Mom. So short phrases, one word, maybe even noises like, yes, echoing, short questions, and restating. Those are the 4 techniques in today's episode.
Boom. Write them down.
That's it.
Apply them.
Yeah. So my assignment for both of you is to apply them like crazy. And for all our listeners to apply them and to then let us know what's working, what's not working, where you need help. And we're here for you. We're here for the people.
The people. Thank you to the people.
Thank you to the people.
Those are great. I love how you break that stuff down. Multiple, what's the word?
Facets.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one. Multiple ways to apply it, or multiple examples. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
Anything else from either of you before we move on to the big audition?
Not for me.
Jacob,
No.
is your voice warmed up?
I think it's always warmed up, especially on the podcast. I try to wake up a little early, say a couple of things. Unique New York.
New York.
Unique New York.
So when you suggest that you be the narrator of my book, I was a little bit taken aback because I always envisioned that I would be the narrator of my own book. Like in the introduction, when I say, when I was a child, I didn't expect you to be the voice, but it's worth auditioning you.
I just feel like Audible. I don't know. Do you use Audible at all?
No, I don't.
So Audible is amazing. I mean, I'm going to be honest here. English is a second language. The math part came easy. The reading of it, not so much. Got picked on a lot in public school in New York for being an immigrant and not being able to do that good when it came to reading. So I'm not a big fan of actually reading books. I mean, I read them to get to school and stuff like that, but the Audible thing is just amazing. So I feel like if you had the book on Audible, it would be such a huge benefit. However, with the Audible, it's either the same person reading or they ask someone else, and it's always like kind of a robotic voice, especially if you speed it up. And so I feel like if if there's some flavor into it, it'd be much easier for people to enjoy. Maybe that's something we should do, is start a book reading company to go against Audible.
Another money
$1 million
idea, Jacob.
idea.
I'm just saying, they can't have a monopoly on the whole thing. That's not right. People should have another option.
So let me say this, because English is not your first language, if you were able to score the job of narrator in the book, that would be like a against all odds story.
Rocky,
Rocky.
Yeah. Underdog story.
Against all odds. All right.
Yeah.
So
Jacob.
what segment are you going to read today?
Well, we're gonna do a couple. We'll do.
Okay.
Jules mentioned do from the intro, so we'll do maybe like a paragraph or two, and then we'll jump over to active listening because I think that's relevant to the episode. And then you can pick one section that is your favorite part, and I'll do that part. All right. Do you want me to start when I was a child or after I graduated from college?
It's
When I was a child.
Okay.
Okay. All right. All right. You ready? Here we go.
Ready.
All right. When I was a child, I saw a psychiatrist every day. My father. I also saw a psychologist every day. My mother. This is significant because although I chose to work in business, my upbringing greatly shaped how I think about business, relationships, and conversations. One of the most important things I learned was how to solve problems through conversations. Relationships are made up of many conversations. Just like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, a relationship is only as strong as its weakest conversation. Boom.
Can you drop your mic, Jacob? Or
Only
it's
one
on
mistake. Only one mistake. But that's okay. No audition goes perfect ever. But that one paragraph just describes the whole book right there. That's all you need to know.
I felt like, first of all, thank you. And you do have a good voice, a good face for radio. And
Too kind.
I felt like we were on 1.5 speed.
Yeah. You could on the app, when we set up the app, you can regulate that. So you can slow me down if you want.
Yes.
But, yeah.
But I liked it.
125% at all times, Ivan.
Yeah. All right, what's next? What segment's next?
Active listening, you mentioned?
Oh, active listening.
Okay. Is that lesson 3 in listen, or is there another active listening part?
Page 47.
Yeah, that's what I was on. Okay, cool. All right. Implement basic active listening strategies. Listening is not a passive activity. If you've ever gone to see a psychologist, therapist, or counselor, you may have noticed that instead of talking most of the time, he listens actively. This is key because when he listens, well, it makes it easier for you to talk. When you listen actively, you enable your client to tell you more about his needs. When you understand his needs, you can help to satisfy them. When you're not listening, you can only guess what your client needs. You may be right some of the time, but you'll increase your understanding by becoming a better listener. Whenever I can remember to be an active listener in my conversations, they seem to go better, are easier to manage, take less effort, and help my clients feel understood, liked, and valued. Here are 4 easy and simple techniques to implement active listening. That's, gold, like just gold. This paragraph. All right, just the first paragraph. Listening is not a passive activity. 1,000,000 points right there. You just 1,000,000 points in life. Right. This is how it should be read, in my opinion. If you've ever gone to see a psychologist, therapist, or counselor, which, again, if you've ever gone to school, you've probably been there. You may have noticed that instead of talking most of the time, he listens actively. Spot on. That's all they do. They don't even talk that much. And this is key because when he listens, well, it makes it easier for you to talk. That's just mind-blowing.
It's so obvious. It's mind-blowing.
But it's so good. Like people just don't hear that every day. And what was your favorite part that you wanted me to do?
They're all my favorite parts.
Okay.
How about you go to the back of the book and just the paragraphs at the top on the back cover.
Conversations will reshape, like starting back here.
Yeah, the top of the back cover.
All right, man. I'm on it. Some books are built differently. I don't know. Maybe some are soft cover, got a wrapper over them or something. All right, here we go. Conversations will reshape how you interact with your clients and colleagues. Author Ivan Farber shares insights that will bring you newfound power and ease in your career and interpersonal communications. You will learn strategies to use in your conversations that are proven to 1. Increase collaboration. 2. Strengthen relationships. 3. Gain agreement for action. 4. Improve the bottom line. If you have to influence others through conversations, you will benefit from the 10 important lessons in this book. You will get a clear formula for success, practical advice, and valuable ideas that you can apply right away. This should be at every newsstand, like in the city. You should just
right there.
order 100. We'll get them in the newsstands on the subway, and they're gonna fly off the shelf. You could literally read this on your way home.
Yes.
And every sentence brings value. The guy that left the 14th Amazon review that said no fluff, he's a great man. He got it spot on.
That's exactly right.
Cool. Well, what I'd like to do now is tell our listeners how they can get a free copy.
Absolutely.
So, number 1, we value you, our listeners. We do this for you. But in exchange for a free copy of the book, I'm going to ask something of you. And that is, go ahead, subscribe on your favorite podcast, rate it, leave a review, and help us spread the word for the podcast. And I'm going to send you a free copy of the book. You just need to send me an email to ivan@conversations.biz, B-I-Z. That's it. Now, limited supplies. The first 5 listeners who contact me and say, yes, I've rated the podcast, I've left a review, I want my free copy of the book.
Let's do 10.
10?
10. 5 for you. I'll do 5. I'm game.
All right. All right, I'll do it. You're being generous with my investment. Thank you.
I'm game. I'm 50% in.
All right, my partner in crime. So here's a couple other things besides asking me for a free copy of the book and Jacob. Number one, we want you to practice active listening. And we'll talk about this in another episode, but you may need some prompts or cues in order to do that. One thing I do and keep at my desk is a rock, little rock. I have a rock, and it reminds me to use questions skillfully to actively listen. Or sometimes people put a rubber band or a sticky note on their monitor. But you will find that, as I wrote and you read in the first paragraph of the chapter, when you start active listening effectively, you will find your conversations are easier. The pressure's off because they are going to do most of the work. So get your free copy by writing me and doing the good work of spreading the word. Practice active listening. Send us your questions so we can answer them right here on the show. And fourth and final request of you is support our sponsors. Jacob, who are our sponsors?
503 Building for all your woodwork supplies. Imago Ansa, and most importantly, Conversations, how to manage your business relationships one conversation at a time.
Jacob, what does Imago Ansa do?
It's all inclusive.
All inclusive? I thought you said it was
idea generation. Yeah, idea generation, things like that.
Oh, is that the Imago part?
Yeah, image, idea, and yeah.
All right, well, now it's time for our closing comments. Each of us get to make a closing comments. I'll bring it home. Let's start with you, Jules, as our special guest. Any closing comments?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've got the prescription from Dr. Farber. Go to the pharmacy, fill it up, come back and get your free book. That's it.
That's it. Jacob?
That's all I got.
Tough to follow that. Jules took it away, so I'll just give it to you.
All right, my closing comments. It is great to be here with both of you and great to be with all the listeners. We want to know you. We want you to contact us, let us know who you are. And I just want to say thank you. I'm really grateful for you listening to me and for being a part of this conversation about conversations. And the kind of conversations I'm talking about is a revolution in the business world, a revolution in conversations. That's what the conversation we're having.
Sounds exciting.
See you again, and peace be with you.
Be well, buddy. Thank you.